Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus Club podcast. In this video, we're going to be talking about The Mighty Ducks. We'll be sharing our thoughts on the movie, kind of a retro review. Retro review for James, my kind of initial first review because I'd never seen it before. But before we go any further, just a quick shout out to all of our supporters on Patreon and also on our YouTube memberships. Makes a massive difference with your support. And those get early access to episodes like this a week before everybody else. So again, it's a big support goes into this one, just a nice little bonus for you guys. So we're going to be talking here about The Mighty Ducks. Now, I might as well start off with saying I'd never seen it. It was one of those movies I've known about for a while. And been one of those movies, you know, it constantly gets thrown around. I mean, they're making a new Disney Plus series. They're filming it right now as a kind of a sequel to it. And I had it on. My wife comes in and goes, because I sat there building the Lego set. I thought, I'll put it on while I'm doing this and watch it. And my wife goes, have you not seen this before? She's like, it's old. And I'm going, yeah, I've never seen it before. She said, why have you never seen it before? I said, because it's got sports in it. And it was just along the lines of teenage me or a young teenager of like, it is a sports movie about a sport I have no knowledge of. I don't watch it. That was as simple as that. It was along the lines of, we were watching about it and I like pointing out like the different actors and stuff and going, oh, the young version of this. And, you know, we had the lawyer from Foggy from Daredevil and the guy from, Dawson's Creek. And we watched it and I was like going, okay, yeah, it was very much by the numbers. I don't know if I would say I enjoyed it. I tolerated it. Well, that might be the best way of watching it. I don't quite get what all the fuss was about, but again, it's sports. I never care about. It's like I don't care if you win or lose. It doesn't matter to me. I don't know because like I said, this week we've also been watching Cobra Kai on Netflix, which is a sequel to The Karate Kid, and that kind of. I was kind of thinking like, well, actually, this kind of ties in maybe like with the idea of where the Mighty Ducks might go with that idea of them being washed up and constantly going. And I was thinking like going back and there's like one sporting moment that ruined his life, and he's an adult and it's still causing him problems 20 years later as he's a lawyer, and I'm like going, oh, really, you missed it's like it doesn't mean anything. I just really struggled to have any kind of connection with it. Kind of going, it's like, really, you gave up your really well paid team money at a lawyer to do this? I don't know. I didn't get it. I watched it and go, this is just stupid.
So he didn't give up the job. I mean, that's the first part. He
did because he
did it. He did at the end, but it wasn't so much picking the team as recognizing that the person that he had become was toxic and needing to get out of that environment.
Yeah.
I agree with you, though. Probably not the best financial decision he could have made, but he also had the skills. He could go out and become a lawyer anywhere. And if you go see the second movie, don't necessarily recommend it, even if you did like the first one. You can see he actually makes the transition to professional hockey temporarily before getting injured. Even if you like the first one, the second one's not particularly that good. The story, it's not so much that one event haunts him and it continues to haunt him. It's just that he was molded in a particular environment of win at all costs. That was the Hawks' motive. And, this one particular event stands out because they didn't win and it was his fault they didn't win, but he continued to push forward with the win at all costs, and he becomes a lawyer and win at all costs, and et cetera, et cetera. And a big part of the narrative is him growing past that and realizing, there are other things in life than winning.
Yeah, I don't know. I just sort of watched it and we're going, all the kids running around and like it felt a little bit like Home Alone-y. I mean, that would have been around the same time it came out. I don't know. I just watched it and I just was really on the lines of going, why was everyone was it so big? Because I don't know. And there's a reason why I didn't watch it when I was a kid because it had no appeal to me then. And right now, it's like Mighty Ducks 2 and 3. Okay,
I would. The 3 has.
Please don't pick it, patrons.
No. 3 has some moments in it that kind of redeem it. It's a growing up story for the Ducks where they kind of go, yeah, you did all these silly things in Ducks 1 and 2. Now you have to play real hockey, and it's it's got moments, not particularly great, better than the second one. Anyway, Um, the main thing with this is that you mentioned this right at the beginning. It is a paint by numbers story. But keep in mind, while it was not a new painting at the time it came out, it's one that hadn't really been around recently. And if it seems cliche now, it's because a lot of the sports movies and movies that followed kind of mimicked this style. But it was paint by numbers, but it was really well executed paint by numbers, which I do think counts for a bit when you're looking at movies. Sometimes you don't need to break the mold so long as you do it well. And that's the thing. It didn't have to be hockey. It's just what it was in this one. But you could transpose this story on, doesn't even have to be sports. Any team competitive activity of anything. It could be, a science debate club. If a team sport, team activity, and you could just toss this right on top of it. And it's just well done. That's all that makes it really special. Plus you got some good actors in it. Like you mentioned, Emilio Estevez, he was still at the top of his game at that point. You've got, I think Joshua Jackson, who you mentioned would go on to do Dawson's Creek, the lawyer, Foggy Nelson. And then much more unfortunately, the goaltender the guy who played Goldberg has been in the news for much different reasons. He got in trouble with drugs and has recently been on the upswing. So good news, but for a little while there, not so good news.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of one of those weird things, like watching it and going. The trouble is I don't connect with sports stories very well. Of like that, winning tournaments and winning events and stuff. It's just it was never something I'm interested in, and I never really feel of it as a incentive to it doesn't motivate me. It doesn't have, and I know obviously on so many American TV shows and stuff, you have that drummed into you. Like over here, it's not really that same thing. And it's just that kind of weird thing of just like watching it and going, like, why? I don't know. Again, it's why Disney don't release these kind of movies internationally very much. They don't release them at cinemas. I think Mighty Ducks probably was, but as a whole, so many of the Disney movies that they make, all these sports ones, we've got things like Safety is another one that's currently coming to Disney Plus. All these ones, they don't release them as well internationally because they don't play as well internationally. These American sports kind of that win at all costs, while that happens, obviously over here with soccer and stuff like that, it never has that same appeal. And I don't know, I just watched it and going, okay, I don't know. I just sort of watched it and going, there's a reason why I didn't watch this, and it wasn't like, oh, how did I miss this? This was such a good movie. I kind of got to the end and went, I kind of watched that. And it was really strange. I was like, it was everything I expected, and it was why I didn't bother. And it's not like, when we did like Atlantis, and we want to do things like Treasure, where I'm going, oh, I want to watch that one because that was something I missed. This was along the lines of, there was a reason why I missed it, and it proved right, which is really, really, and I can see why people like it, but at the same time going, I can see why, I didn't.
Part of it's going to be framing though as well, because you're framing it as a sports movie, and I get that it's advertised on Pee-wee hockey, coach coming in teaching him how to play, but really the heart of sports movies, 99% of them, and this is true even for like ones based on real stories like Miracle or Invictus, the real story is whatever they overcome. So the hockey is just the wallpaper dressing. The real story is Emilio Estevez growing past the win at all costs. It's Joshua Jackson having a father figure in his life. It's some of the other kids who didn't have a chance. They now got some sponsorship. The Goldberg gets proper pads. It's about growing. It's about learning for all the characters. And that's going to be true of almost every sports. But if you are not interested in the sport that they're talking about, then you're probably not going to be interested in the movie, even though that's not what the movie is really about. And that makes sense. Like if they did a movie, I know they've done movies about WWE and that kind of wrestling. I know there was the one like a year or two ago. I would probably skip, even if people are like, oh, this is a really good interpretation of wrestling, because I'm not really, but you might be interested because we know you
Well,
like
that's. I mean, I did watch Wrestling with the Family, and it was Florence Pugh. It was about Paige's life, and I did watch it, and I did enjoy it because I came into it knowing, and they had cameos and all the rest of it. But also at the same time, they didn't, because it wasn't aimed at a Disney one. They didn't fully go in on the whole. I think that's the difference of being aimed at a slightly older audience. Didn't quite go down the same cliches and stuff. But yeah, you are 100% right. I watched that movie because I was interested in it. But had that been, I think, if it had been like things like Rocky and was, some other one like Invictus, and there's a whole host of other movies. Because I think recently we did an article on the website. Jeremy did like the sports movies, and it literally for me was like never seen. It was literally on the lines of this whole set. It's like people go, "Oh, put it in an ESPN section." ESPN, as far as I'm concerned, it could not even exist, and it wouldn't make any difference to me. And that's ultimately, as a non-sports person, go sports. Just doesn't. And Mighty Ducks kind of fell into that whole problem of just going, I don't care if you do. And like we were watching Cobra Kai the same day. So, and obviously and it ends up with them going to a karate things, and they kind of play on it a bit. They're more aware of the fact that it's a cliche, and they kind of, but you knew full well where it was going beforehand. And a Karate Kid, I remember watching that and again, I think they've just, like I said, they've overdone it, but because essentially things like the Mighty Ducks were popular, so then they went through and then did it to every other sport. And obviously Mighty Ducks was one of the original ones. So I need to, definitely put that in there and go, they, like you say, they were the cliche because they started it and kind of made it right.
Right. And a couple points. I'm going to step back just a second here. Like if they took that wrestling movie, Wrestling with the Family, I realize it's based at least mostly on a true story on one of the wrestlers. But if you took that story and you changed it from wrestling to cricket, I know it's not going to be an exact one-to-one, but if you took it to wrestling to cricket, it would still work on the same level. You just wouldn't be interested because it's cricket instead of wrestling. And that's kind of what I mean by like the framework. It's still the same, but it's that window dressing that gets you in the door. The other thing, like if they put an ESPN section or a sports movie section, it became the sixth pillar or seventh or eighth pillar of Disney Plus. I know I personally wouldn't go into it that often. I might go and watch Miracle because it's fun to watch every once in a while and stuff like that. But it's perfectly fine for them to have that pillar that's not for you and not for me and so on. But I would honestly ignore it. But it is very obvious that there would be a big audience for that, whether it's just sports movies. You got Remember the Titans and Invictus and all that.
There's a list here like the top 9 movie: Cool Runnings, The Rookie, Angels of the Outfield, Gus, Secretariat, Invincible, Miracle, and Remember the Titans. And I've seen Cool Runnings, which we did an episode of this, and Mighty Ducks because of this. And I haven't seen the other ones. And there's a general theme here of these movies are just something I'm not. It's just they are just something I just don't connect with, and I think that's the problem with it because it's along the lines of the minute it's like, we've got to get into the final. Oh yeah, you're going to get into the final, and then you're going to do the thing, and then it's like and I think that's the problem with Mighty Ducks for me. I was just like, I don't care, and instantly I think from that point on, you just can't get past. You're just like, okay, yeah. So he grows, and and you're just like, just. And I think this one did have a good thing because the beginning was kind of like it had that John Hughes, like, they're running around, getting up to mischief. It was like, okay, but even that was like so stereotypical. It's like you couldn't do that. They wouldn't be able to film that now like that because kids wouldn't act like that now. They'd all be sat there like this. Yeah. What? Yeah.
All right, Boomer. To be honest, I don't think kids act like that in the 90s either.
I don't know. I think me and my mates and my brothers, we would be out on our bikes riding around.
No, that part certainly, but like the pranking random cars, I could see some people doing it, but I don't think it's a normal part of growing up. Now, what was I thinking here? So to all of our viewers, find this list that Roger was looking at and slowly work your way through it on the nominee. And please, actually, don't. I've seen several of the movies on that list. I don't really have any desire to see most of the other ones that I haven't seen. But yeah, I'll just reiterate. It's about framing. These are stories you can tell without sports. We could do this. We could do this story with the Star Wars miniature games.
Yeah.
You talk about that every once in a while. I don't know what the future of that is, considering the state of things. But you could do this story with that game.
Yeah.
The hockey is incidental, but
I know, because it's really annoying, because there's a little mini tournament going on in my local store that we're all like behind plexiglass. We've got to wear masks. We've got to sanitize, and it's still going on. But it went from a massive tournament of like, I don't know, 20, 30 people down to a tournament of only allowed 6 at any time.
Well, you have a much better chance of winning.
Even that. I mean, I'll be honest. I play miniature game. As much as I like the winning side of things, it's just the fun aspect to it.
Right.
And I think that's the thing, is I don't have that competitiveness in my body, and therefore I think that's the issue with these kind of things.
Right.
For me.
And I'm not generally a competitive person either. When I play hockey, and even when I play hockey, I've actually accidentally annoyed other teams, because it'll be like playing defense, and the team that I'm playing against will take a shot. I'm like, oh, that was a nice shot. And they'll be like, are you being serious right now? I'm like, actually, yeah, I am being serious. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not mocking you. But I get so many people who are like, why are you saying that to the other teams? It's like, I'm here to have fun. I don't care. But I did want to make one other little point. I know this is not your main complaint, but a lot more sports movies in recent years, and by recent I mean like 2000 and forward, have gotten away from the they win in the end. That's the story. They Cool Runnings obviously was one. They did not win in the end, but that's based on historical events. But you do start to see that transition from the big moment where Charlie gets to do the triple deke and score the goal and quack 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 and all that stuff, and actually move to we didn't win, but we got to make our shot. We got to have that moment of fame, and we still enjoyed it. What was it? Not even a sports movie. There was that dancing movie with Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper. Yeah. We're at the end of the movie. They're in that competition, and they get like a score of 4 out of 10, and you're like, oh, that's not a good score, but they're just like, yes, this is amazing, and you're like, okay, they didn't win. They didn't even come close to winning, but they had a good time.
I think that's the important thing, because I keep kind of going back. I think because of watching Mighty Ducks at the same time as watching this Cobra Kai show, it's kind of all interconnected with like the 90s and 80s, that whole aspect to it, and like how that had changed from the original, how they're retelling the same story, but they're having to do it in a modern way, because they couldn't just remake the Karate Kid now, because it just wouldn't connect the same way. So they're doing it differently. And I think that, like you say, like never winning and not winning, it's kind of that point now of people going, that kind of thing of just keep doing well and you will win. Life doesn't work like that. And the whole idea of this movie was about saying that, these kids can overcome it and all the rest of it. And, the other guys, they just want to win and they're not that. And I don't know. It was a bit of an odd one. I'm glad I have seen it, because I think it will help when the new Mighty Ducks series comes out. And I'm hoping, now I've seen this Cobra Kai show, I'm hoping that we get something similar to how they've done that, where they modernize it and maybe necessarily look at like the problems of what's the Mighty Ducks had now, how that doesn't translate so well to nowadays. And so it's kind of quite weird. I think it just ended up being that way of watching those two on the same day. Kind of, they were so connected, because obviously the Karate Kid, I remember watching the Karate Kid as a kid, and maybe because karate had a little bit more interest, but even that at the time, in winning the tournament and stuff, it didn't really matter. But the thing with the Mighty Ducks, I don't know, it was I'm glad I've watched it and I can see what everyone's going on about, but I've got no interest in watching the sequels or anything like that. And I'm like, okay, because then my wife was like, you've not seen this movie? I said, no, I didn't. What? It just wasn't. I'd never rent it. Why would I have rented this?
Yeah. So to sum up the sequels really, really fast, Mighty Ducks 2, they go to the World Championships for reasons. Because
But how can you have a world championship with hockey where only 2 countries play?
Oh no, many countries played in it. It's just the bad guys in Mighty Ducks 2 were Iceland. And having actually played hockey in Iceland, I think they did a very big disservice to Iceland because those players were nasty, but the ones I played against were awesome as people. Not
Yes, Iceland's a lovely country. They're very.
It's a great country. I'm not even saying that sarcastically. I've been there a couple times. I love that country.
Me too.
and they
Canadian, because I did go and watch an ice hockey game while we were in Canada. Like a local team were playing. So I have been and gone and watched a proper game of ice hockey, and but we were in Canada, so it was very, very friendly.
Yeah, and the Iceland players that I played against, they were all awesome people too. So Mighty Ducks 2 lied to me. That's what you need to take from Mighty Ducks 2. That and the knuckle puck, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a puck that flies weird. It's a meme. And then the third movie is they go to high school, they get their butts kicked, they rally around each other, and they lose in the end, or they tie. I don't remember which, but they feel good about themselves. Yeah. And now you're up to speed.
Yeah, so there we go. That's just saved me a couple hours, so that's good. But no, as I said, I went into this one here not really knowing. I kind of went in like there's a reason why I've skipped this one, and it met every single expectation of what I was expecting. And I'm like, okay, cool, I've seen it. Thank you very much. I wouldn't say it was a glowing endorsement. I wouldn't say it, but if you like sports movies, watch it. But yeah, it's kind of really funny when you do these retro reviews where you go in and you're watching something you've never seen before, and you don't have the nostalgia goggles on it.
Yeah, nostalgia goggles are definitely strong, and I don't know how I would feel about this if I didn't have those. I think I still would enjoy it, especially more than you, because I am coming from the hockey perspective on it, and I do like the window dressing of hockey on this movie. Like some of the later ones where they adapted it to other ones like basketball, and it's like, whatever. But yeah, we always do have to factor in nostalgia goggles. That said, if you are a hockey fan and for some reason you haven't seen the Mighty Ducks, it's absolutely worth watching as a hockey fan. 2 and 3, less so. Animated series with the actual Mighty Ducks, skip. Hard skip.
On that note, let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed the Mighty Ducks, and just I know I'm going to get some heat on this one because I really didn't like it, but nevertheless, go sports, and we shall see you guys in another episode later.
Give the haters the chair. That's all you got to do. Just I don't get that reference, I have to admit.
I don't know. I think you brush it off or something like that. But
I thought it was an actual wrestling thing that somebody.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing the 5-knuckle shuffle, with John Cena, and all that.
Okay, that's still totally over my head.
Oh, no, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you guys soon. Later.